All right. All right. Sorry about that. A little late today. How am I coming through? All right. Everybody, how's it going? It's Friday night. Hope you had a good day. I certainly did. Oh my goodness. It wants me to sign in to enter the chat. Are you kidding me? So, there's ways around that. All right. So, I might be a little delayed because it doesn't look like I can do that the way I thought I could. Sorry, I'm trying to use the streaming software so I can show these pictures today. So that's what we're doing. So I was setting that up. It took me a minute to figure it out. So I'm going to be shifting today so that things can get in the stream. Anyway, thanks for all coming. I'm Aaron Archer, the Toy Armada Live, Friday night. We are going to talk about some good stuff. Interesting road this week. I wanted to talk about the Red Dragon Megatron, and then I got some interesting things I found at the store today. So we'll talk a little bit, all kinds of good Transformers stuff. So, hi Larry, hey David, Ninjatron, Cheesier, T-Formers 2002, thanks for coming, Van Hope Comedy, Coltran, how's it going? Got some Friday night regulars. Thanks for showing up. So, first and foremost, the Megatron and Optimus went up for pre-order this week. Legacy, Hasbro's new Legacy Optimus and Megatron from Armada. So I bit the bullet and pre-ordered both of them, which I don't really buy too many toys, but I'm definitely buying those. Hey, Horned Owl, how are you? And while I was there, I decided to look around, and that's when I decided to pick up this guy. Kind of been thinking about it for a minute, so that's what started this whole thing. One of the few interesting Michael Coe. No, Hasbro doesn't send me anything for free. No. But next week I might have some interesting stories for you. But I'll save that for next week. So this Red Dragon, for me, kind of has a lot of strange connections, because this is actually this is my Red Dragon that I've had since it came out. This is the first Transformer product I ever worked on. During the Beast Wars era, the designer George Bosnos, he really liked the process, like this technique of painting on clear and the VM, and all this kind of faded paint, two-tone paint. He was really into the techniques of toy manufacturing, and he didn't really want to sit around and draw a bunch of Transmetal 2s and things. So that's how I got my chance to draw Transformers. He was like, hey, I need some ideas for this Transmetal things. We're going to do dragons or something. I don't know if he made it up or I made it up, but I did a sketch or two, and they ran with that. And that is how the Red Dragon was born. I didn't have a lot of involvement back then in Beast Wars. I was just a really prodigious artist that put out a lot of stuff, and he came to me to draw some stuff because I was the type that would, and I would do it fast, and it wouldn't interrupt my flow of the products I was working on, which was definitely, back then that would have been right in the middle of, maybe Batman 4, so Batman and Robin, and maybe the Total Justice, maybe Night Force Ninjas, but so this was extra stuff I did when I designed Transmetals 2, kind of the design theory on that, which I always admit is not really great design theory. All I did was kind of mix and match what they had done before. So, but since I like that weird asymmetrical style, that was a perfect thing for me to get into. Yeah, Cultron, there you go. So that's why it was kind of sentimental, or a cool connection for me, to be this one is the first one I did. And so when I was ordering the Megatron and Optimus this week, I went ahead and picked up the modern one, which I know has been out for a little while, but since I designed the original, I have some unique takes a little bit on the differences they did, and the fun stuff they incorporated, which I think is fun. First and foremost, you're not going to get a lot of drama here. Everything they do is great. I'm just going to highlight the design connections between the old one and the new one that are kind of central to what I thought of as important to the design. So we'll go through some of that. But first and foremost, right out of package, pretty impressive. Still getting used to the prices. The higher prices are a little crazy for me, but when you're on the inside, you're institutionalized. You get a lot of stuff for free, and or you're working with different types of product costs. So the real retail of some of this stuff, I feel your pain, ladies and gentlemen. I feel your pain. Again, I don't buy too many toys. I buy particular types of toys and things that are interesting to me and my style, and we'll talk about a little bit of that, what I picked up. So for me, it's kind of fun to pick up something like this and be able to add it to my collection. Yeah, that must have been a pricey order. Yeah, it was. I don't know what it was. It's like 200 something. No doubt. Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. So first and foremost, I like the size. Honestly, I'm not a big fan. I mean, I am a big fan of big robots, but big transforming robots can get a little tricky at times. And back then, this was pretty large. It was comparable, obviously, to Depth Charge and the other one, the Crab and the Manta Ray. But came in a giant box. So let's look at some of that. So that was Red Dragon Megatron in animation, which I didn't realize he was in animation. That's how little connectivity I had to that item when it was originally made. I didn't realize it was in the show. But it came in a pretty big box when it originally came out. Very much in that Beast Wars illustration style at the time, still highly rendered illustration, kind of throwback to the G1 days even. I just pulled these off the internet, so hopefully that's cool. I like the blast effect on that box. It's kind of funny. But you could see how plain things were back then. Look at that big yellow inner tray that now would have some sort of bursting and effect to make some movement back there, if not a full illustration of some sort. All right, sorry everybody if you're asking questions. I'm going to get through some of this stuff and then we can talk. So this is a bit of the modern one. I'm I'm going to bring this one up a few times. That's the Hasbro shot. Pretty cool. And there's the old one. So I don't know if I should hide behind the image or slide over here. But this one, as you all know, if you're in the know, was built around at a time where we were, I remember specifically that they were exploring these capsule seats where Spark drivers would sit. I designed the Spark drivers, the Maximal and Predacon Spark drivers. I remember having a Maximal Spark driver that they sent me, and it is long lost. I wish I had that. It was basically the torso of the logo with little heads and arms. Imagine what became Minicons years later. That same kind of vibe, I guess. But they were going to sit in those little capsules, and that was going to be part of the story. And I'm not going to transform my dragon here, but they were going to sit in this little thing with a gimbal so it could rotate around. And that was built into a couple of the items. Jeez. So that was a big part of the feature that it was built around, is what I remember. And I remember it was going to be pretty glitzy and glossy. If I remember correctly, Transmetals, right, had a lot of chrome on it. So that's why this guy got the special treatment, because he was part Transmetals 2. And they knew it would be packaged the way it was. So that chrome and gold really stood out, I guess, to them at the time. So people ask me about the design of that original dragon a lot. And it comes from Asian dragons. I am not an authority by any means, so if I offend, please don't take it as offense. But I like the more wiry dragons sometimes. So I was a fan of dragons with antlers, particularly. That comes from the Asian tradition. And, a different skull structure altogether than a Western English type dragon or German type dragon, Polish dragon. So I definitely put the two front-facing fangs on that design, as well as the tiered antlers, which I think is a big, big part of what I brought to the party here. But those antlers are nice. They can hang on to them to move the figure around and whatnot. So that's what I remember at the time. That the wings were a big deal. So the wings are kind of in that distressed kind of, a lot of cut throughs. That saved on plastic weight. It spoke to the weird destruction and asymmetry that Transmetals 2 was supposed to kind of have, or feel like it had in overall designs. I did like the tail. Let's see. Yeah, there's the dragon. I did not have anything to do with the coloring of this item. So I can't speak to what they were thinking or doing, other than it has the little bit of the purple of the Decepticons, and obviously if Megatron had been purple as the T-Rex for a few years, and they decided to bump him up to red here in his ultimate mode. But an ultimate T-Rex, I guess, is a dragon. But again, I'm not an expert in Asian dragons. There's just certain design details I like, and that's why I put them on there. So I'm not saying It's entirely an Asian dragon. If anything, he kind of has an upright Godzilla vibe about him as well. So he's kind of a kaiju also in his own way. You know, and that must have really been a beast of a design to translate into animation. I don't know how they did that. Let's see here. Okay. So they were able to echo in the new design the that chest component, that seat, if you will, that was going to be in there for the spark drivers, with that lens in the middle of the chest, which I think is a pretty admirable connection. I don't think you need that big contraption at all, so that's pretty cool. I like what they did with the head. He still kind of has his little crown over his forehead, upper head. You know, he's really an amped up Beast Wars Megatron head design with kind of the dragon enveloping him, so I wasn't trying to go too far afield there. So they did a really nice job. I kind of like the evil grin that's on the legacy version. That's a nice addition. Another thing that I think is fun is how they addressed these side boosters on his lower legs, these turbines. Get rid of that. Nope. There it is. All right. These turbines on the side of the leg kind of things. They ended up they're like thrusters when he's in the other mode. I like how they echoed them. They were kind of a bigger deal because they rotate around like that in the big one. So it was part of the feature of one of the modes of the big dragon. So it was nice that they echoed that element there, even though it's not working in the same way. But the new ones, the horns there, really nice. I think that's a nice comparison. They really are being respectful to the design language of the original toys when they redo these. They're not just creating a silhouette and following the details. They're following intricate details, which as the designer of the original, I know how I draw, and I know little things that I do in my drawings that are going to I don't know, I see my own work in these new ones because they copied it so well in the overall design aesthetic, in a whole new vernacular that I can see the details and the care that went into matching the original, which is really amazing. And on those Armada ones in particular, I will continue to talk about that, because they did all Takara and the Hasbro team, they look great to me. They look great. So this one does not have the same asymmetry in the cutouts of the wings that the original has, which is fine. I still think it's pretty honorific. The details up here on the tops of the wing, very nice. I also like the color. I don't think Megatron needs to be a bright red. This crimson color is pretty nice. Pretty good match upgrade to the original. A little deeper, which is nice. So yeah, pretty impressed with it. Again, I don't buy too many Transformers, but this one will definitely be on the back shelf next week for sure. All right, if you stumbled here, you're watching the Toy Armada live with Aaron Archer. I'm Aaron Archer. You are in the Toy Armada Metroplex, which is another way to say my basement studio. And we're here talking toys tonight. So thanks for being here. Hope you're enjoying this so far. So really cool to get this Red Dragon and finally feel how modern toys are kind of really operating. I dealt with a little bit of the smaller ones, so this is the first bigger boxed item I've opened in a while. And I got lucky. My box came shipped pretty well, and everything seems to be pretty nice with my item. This is the one thing I noticed too. So if you look at the box illustration, let me get this guy orientated correctly. So this is the original, and that's pretty good match. Like they did the illustration off the original practically. It tells you how much care went into to matching the old design with the modern one. So I was really impressed with that because this looks like the drawing I did. I'm not kidding. So that's pretty impressed with that. I continue to be impressed with the packaging art and mostly the posing, which is nice because you can't get this with a plastic window box. So if they're going to give us things in closed box, I do like this dynamic illustration. Once again, no feature, so I'm getting used to that as well. That not even a projectile launcher, but that's how it is these days. So yeah, that. Now I call it. Sometimes when I'm at a convention, I call it Red Dragon Megatron. I usually don't use the full Transmetals 2 Megatron. So usually I call it Red Dragon Megatron, which I'm, again, very fortunate to have been associated with. Very cool. Of course, it looks like I knocked something off already. Where does that go? Oh, there it is. Piece fell off the old one. Haven't messed with the old one too much, but kind of needs retired from the convention scene. Sometimes I bring that and sits on my table, but starting to get too beat up to do that. All right, so how is everybody doing? Alan G, how are you? Been a minute. Jetpack Man 01, how are you? Once again, we got a nice crew here. Appreciate y'all showing up. All right, man. Wow, you guys are lighting up the discussion. Nice, thank you. We've had some great discussions the last few weeks talking about, all the different toys and thoughts around packaging and how things have been going. So I'm just going to answer a few questions here and then talk about some other stuff. It's already 10:30. Jeez. I did not scan the QR code. I saw that on there and had not got to it yet. So I hope it's going well. When I check that out, I'll talk about that some other time. But I did see it. Haven't dealt with it. The Armada figures, the Optimus and Megatron, I really liked the package art for them. Probably easy for me to say that because they're characters I'm really fond of. So Yeah, the tail of that, the triangular tail, that's a definite hallmark of that item. I don't know where that came from. I was looking at a lot of Japanese illustration books at that time for video game art and stuff. I don't know. That was a complex model to make. All that VM, all that chrome on that item, and the clear wings made that a little more expensive. And I think that was one of the reasons that it never got used in a exclusive at BotCon. I remember it just being a little bit much. It was one of those items that probably, when it was created, had some favorable cost or right at the edge of preferred costing, and then as different pricing shifted, it probably became a bit of an albatross, an item that was, in the toy vernacular inside, more it costs more than we're going to be able to get your return on, so your expected return. So I imagine it was just a tough one to do. The price would have been probably astronomical. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up on everything that people talked about. Wow. I definitely will not transform my original one for you. Sorry. I'm actually my local junk plastic shop has one that they got in that I saw that actually has my signature on it. Somebody got it signed and then had to sell it back. So I'm waiting to see if it sells and if the price goes down, because they put $60 on it, and I don't think it has its projectiles. It looks pretty good, but 60 is a little bit much, I think, for a loose one. And so we'll see. And then I will have a dragon and a robot original, so that I don't have to transform them, because they're getting too fragile. Yeah, the beast claws. That's a good one. That's a good design point, David. The claws on his chest are his arm claws. That's pretty cool. That's a snazzy way to do it, and a cool way to bring color into the chest with the mold breaks. So that's a cool addition for sure. Alan, were there any restrictions originally you wanted to do but couldn't? Yeah, there's a few things that we would have liked to have done for different reasons don't happen. I often talk about a Shogun Warriors sized Optimus Prime for the movie, kind of in that same kind of format, but we couldn't figure out how to ship it in. Different things like that come and go. In toys, you throw a lot of stuff at the wall. You pitch a lot of stuff. You present a lot of stuff. You might even make models and designs and intend to make things in different market conditions. Stuff just drops off, can drop off quick, can drop off mid-project, as you all know. And so you got to be prepared for anything to happen. I knew a guy who he worked for 5 years in toys, and just the string of bad luck and projects he got put on, he didn't produce anything. Nothing came out during that time of his, which just must have been rough, I'm doing wave after wave after wave of Batman products and stuff, and here's a guy, literally nothing's coming out. Hey, got a guest cat here in the room. Did I have any hand in designing Cybertron Scourge? I I only in general oversight. Eric was handling the majority of that at the time, and I was kind of leaning over his shoulder, making little notes where I thought needed. So no, but that one I think we definitely talked about it being an echo of that. So there's some elements certainly in the head that he looks like an old school Megatron in that way. But that's one of the ones I kept. I like that one. Oh my goodness. The cat's decided to chase a hair tie around the lamp. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, who else from Beast Wars would like to see redone like this? The whole show or the toy line? Be pretty cool. So I don't know if anybody's been to Walmart, but my local Walmart, obviously, they had the full Rise of the Beast line out. A lot of stuff, kind of one whole section, and then creeping into the normal section as well. Interesting stuff. Look pretty cool. You know, for me, it's a little small. The product's a little small, but that's just how it is these days. But good mix. Seemed like a good mix of colors and characters. I didn't see the Porsche. It was a lot of the Beast characters. Majority of the Beast characters. So, Evan, how are you? Claudio, man, we got everybody here. You mentioned Dragon Eggs gets fragile. Is that just what happens to plastic, or did anyone ever think we'd still be wanting to transform them 30 years later so they weren't designed to last? Well, that's a really good question. I think a lot of the materials in the 90s, believe it or not, were pushing the boundaries of what toys could do at the time. This clear stuff, you know, being geared and things in here, that's difficult over time. Right now, the clear gets more fragile sometimes, and that'll be bad, and that'll break your gears. The VM breaks down and falls off. So the simple answer is no. I don't think they considered in their advancement of technology use that it would cause issues for the long-term solidness of these items. You know, I don't think there's a long-term approach when you're designing toys. Not to say that you're making a consumable, like you just throw it away, but there's no accounting for what would happen 20 years from now in this kind of market. You know, other businesses can get away with that. This one's just too fast. And so things like Beast Wars, where you have a designer who is pushing technology and some of that stuff, it will get fragile. That's one way it gets fragile. Old toys are going to get fragile anyway. So anything in the sun, in a hot attic, are going to be affected. You know, they're essentially cooking, right? It's plastic, it's polymer science at its base level, and molecularly things are happening inside a closed package that over time makes them more brittle. The oil leaches out, and that molecular bond becomes more rigid. So when it breaks, it really breaks. It doesn't bend any longer. If you think of polymer nets of molecules, right? So I think the sad reality is some toys, based on the way they're made and the way the scale and whatnot are, they don't last as well as other ones. I can't show you right now, but I have a 70s era 12-inch Stormtrooper from Kenner that was mine as a child, and it's mostly yellow, not because it's dirty, but just the white has leached out of the plastic over the decades. So, definitely that's some of the reasons stuff can happen. But on Beast Wars Transmetals, particularly, some of the advancements of that, using clears, gears, and metallic vinyl for that tail, some really weird stuff that you don't see any longer. So that's a good question. I don't think they've re-released the big one for a long time. They did the original in the red box, and then there was a chase. Then there was the blue version, Cryotech, which is probably one of the most seemingly beloved secondary decos. Is up there against anything. And then that design was echoed in a Beast Machines product as well. I think I saw a question about that. I didn't have anything to do with that one either. So they took that design and made that item. How does that lizard-like skin texture get achieved? Is there some special treatment to the plastic or something like that? Claudio, for the new item, that's just all sculpting. Yeah, just sculpted into the model. So let's look at a few things. So I managed to... My clearance aisle's right next to the toy section in my Walmart, and I was able to get this and this for nearly nothing, believe it or not. One of those crazy, they were giving it away kind of deals. So I bought both of these. Not really sure what I'm going to do with them. I might put them on the site and sell them with a sketch or something. But back on the Cybertron days when we were doing the planet logos, I helped create Velocitron and the icon for the Speed Planet. So in a weird way, I'm still connected to these items because that is an icon that I helped develop for that purpose. So kind of funny that stuff lives on. Great that it lives on. Those are assets of the company that, if used over time correctly, build a bit of information and build on the information and the lore, which is great. That's what it should be doing. I'm missing something. There's a conversation going on there with the... Yeah, we didn't talk to Cryotech. And I didn't have anything that, again, with the colors of those, or I just drew a couple sketches, and this is the item that got made up because I was not officially on Transformers. I was just helping George out. So I don't really know about the Cryotech evolution either. I wish I did. Wish I knew more about that. But I would have to talk to someone at Takara at this point, I believe. Yeah, Burnout. Well, let me talk about both of these. So in my day, they're stuck with a box that's kind of dark in there. I got a lot of light in here. It looks not too bad. But let's look at this package. The package for both products, right? So the line look is blue Speed Planet, kind of digital, speed kind of markings. Blues, blacks, purples, grays. And then you got a vehicle that pretty much matches the package. And you got another vehicle that pretty much matches the package. So I can see if these were both in the same assortment, they would not be attractive enough on shelf. If I look at them, for what what they are on the back, I'm like, oh wow, very cool robots. But this does not show off much, and it just falls way back into that package where you can't even tell what you're getting. So then, then they do a Diaclone character, which is cool that they're adding that in, but he's not well known enough to really be driving enough, right? And then it's black, in that package. I don't know. I'm trying to help them, but very difficult to see both of those. So I can see why they just maybe Walmart decided to cut bait on that assortment because it wasn't moving, and it could be a product mix. I think it's largely the color. Nothing's popping out of that package. You'll hear me talk about that all the time. So that's I definitely noticed that as a reason. I was a little I don't know. So I can see where Burnout wouldn't be selling well. And Blur is a traditional character, so you guys know why you want him, and you might. But I'm guessing he's not selling much better. So, but what I like, both of the robots, the item is okay. The item, when I look at it, is not, doesn't have a problem. It's just the packaging there is just oof. Not good. Yeah, I noticed. I guess if you're from a speed planet, it stands to reason you should pack them out in vehicle mode. So that's good. Seems like a little mini line. I don't know if they're going to continue to do that. I'm a little confused about what it stands for. This Velocitron thing. How long that goes, because it doesn't seem to be connected to anything, right? But fun. It's something different. Yeah, I saw Override. I did not buy her. I saw her for like $17 once, and I should have probably picked her up. So that I could have done a review of her as well. So, if you want to do cat. Again, I'm just buying these for me, but I will buy more of them if people are interested and digging it. If you want to add to the coffers with a super chat and all that, so I can get some of that stuff, that helps too. But we will definitely be reviewing the Megatron and Optimus as they come out. Hey Aaron, did you work with the packaging designers on the gimmick callouts and what words to use? Yeah, I worked with that team. In different projects, we have different tones, or that person, Forrest Lee, who came to a lot of the BotCons, he wrote a lot of the copy for not just the bios, but like naming weapons and any of that kind of thing. But largely, read that stuff and didn't have much to comment on, kind of out of my wheelhouse to worry about that stuff unless something was the wrong take. But yeah, I got a little involved in every group for a while. We really wanted to communicate this across the board universally, so we really were focused on helping everyone engaged with Transformers across the company to understand what we were doing. Made a lot of good, deep connections that way with licensing and package copy and legal and all kinds of things. Maybe this has been discussed before, but the colors of figures different at Takara and Hasbro. Yeah, we for a long time had a different color theory. Takara kept everything very, everything in toys over there is very poppy plastic, kind of bright. The kid stuff, Power Rangers and a lot of the Sentai stuff. Whereas, we like to make things a little darker and cooler, cooler. They're not real toys. They're, I don't know. So that is really the reason. No other reason than that. Just personal preference of the market. Out of all the recent Blur designs, I personally like Velocitron Blur the most. Yeah, I've seen a few of them. I can't recall them enough, but this one looked pretty nice. Looked pretty nice. The yeah, I've never seen Cosmos. Having a reflective foil on the package could have helped that. Yeah, so they could have done a few things. They didn't have a lot of space, so they wanted this image to show looking down what's in there. But if they had that open, let a little light in, might have helped. Still a difficult shape to kind of communicate, no matter what you do. All of those kind of, movie, the G1 movie designs kind of all have that. Fluoro, his style is really unique and cool, but those are, shape theory things. So in 3D, they kind of look, they look a lot like wedges and nondescript forms a little bit, unfortunately. But so that's another thing that's not going to help it in package to be easily understood, So Galaxy Shuttle, yeah, I haven't seen that at all. And even though I don't buy a lot of toys, I go through the toy aisle every time I go to Walmart, so I try to keep up on some of that. Yeah, I haven't seen Galaxy Shuttle once, and I go to a couple different stores over the course of a week. I'm not El Kevo. I don't have a strong opinion on the McFarlane DC figures. When I left Batman, I kind of left all that DC stuff behind. Some of those figures have been made multiple times. I guess it's cool from a package look and everything. I don't know. Overall, McFarlane toys aren't the type of toys I'm into, I guess. That John D. Honestly, that packaging has way too many elements, multiple logos in multiple places. Kind of weird that they even get more retro and didn't get even more retro. I don't disagree. I would sit around. One of the things people knew I was going to do was count up every element. So if you think of all the communication happening here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then the item itself, 13 points. And then if you could see that one, you got 14, 15, 16 points of communication, one way or the other, just from your open source view, right? That might be a lot, and this is repeated right here twice, so maybe that wasn't needed. Could have got that illustration bigger. So yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I have not seen the Toxitron packaging, so I'll have to check that one out. That one's you guys talked about it a few times tonight, so I'll check that out. I the things for me with the McFarlane toys is they're nice, articulated, just like a lot of the a lot of the companies are doing it. it's just real cool posed, lifelike stuff. I don't know. I still like a little toy in my toy. So yeah, Coltron. Yeah, that's how I think of communication on toys. So as an example, the front of this package already has less things on it than the front of that last one. Still has a lot to communicate. Some of the stuff you can't avoid having, but and nothing really jumps out on these packages. The red is pretty dull, and that is the brightest color. This is the thing that pops out probably the most. So there's a lot. No, I didn't even think of the Autobot. That's another one. So 14 on the front package. So that's how I think of it. You're trying to say a lot of things, and all of it communicates. So can kind of get to be a mess. All right, where are we at? Oh, 10:55. All right. I'll show a few other things real quick I picked up as well. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to open them and give them a light wash with darker colors to make them pop and get in there with the silver and stuff. But they were selling all this Lightyear stuff, which I was never going to buy at $13 a pop at all, but I love little spaceships. And got 3 of the different designs that way. So for $9 I got 3 of them, which is less than the price of one of them. So that was a good steal, no doubt, at the old Walmart today. Hey, Michael Coe, thank you for the super chat. So that was a good steal. So I'll probably show those off one day when I get one of them done. Okay, Michael, when the Robin vehicle mold for the Batman animated line was stolen, did this cause the cancellation of future toy vehicles? The Robin vehicle mold for Batman the Animated Series was involved in a factory fire. So that tool was at a factory that, my understanding, burnt down after. So they got some production out. They were, it was ramped up. They were doing ongoing production in the factory. And the factory has multiple things happening. So the factory didn't burn down because of the Robin vehicle. It was a casualty of something wider that had happened. So that is why there are so few of them out there, because it was very limited release before the factory burnt down and destroyed all the steel and molds and everything that was in that factory. So as a result, the Robin vehicle is quite one of the more pricey mainline toys you're going to find from that era. And it was deemed at the time that it wasn't worth retooling. At the time, they didn't really know how long the Batman animated series would go on. Now, it went on for multiple years, but this was early days, and that wasn't something that probably made sense. And if I, put on my Sherlock Holmes hat, they probably got the insurance money for those items in that factory, and maybe they just said, okay, we're done. We're not going to worry about it. So that is the story of the Robin. Yeah, I mean, I $3. I mean, unbelievable. They were making me take them home. Unbelievable price, really. So worth it to go down the clearance aisle. I mean, you never know. I really like the packaging for Legacy Armada, both the art and the packaging design. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool to see these guys posed out dramatically, kind of more in a fantastical pose. The toys can certainly get in that pose, but the lighting's perfect. And sometimes plastic toys are just that. They're plastic toys, and we try to make them, be representation of what can get done in animation and with great artists and stuff. And sometimes it just doesn't live up to that, right? They're still robots. They're still kind of stiff at times. They're not all articulated to the same degree. So sometimes the illustrations are a better way to go, for sure. Would love to see what you do with the Lightyear ships. Yeah, I'm gonna have fun with those, with my little silver paint pens and a good wash in there. I've seen some guys do it online. Looks fun. So many toys. You guys know this. The detail is there. It's just the budget to paint out the different details isn't. So on these kinds of things that particularly Mattel does, all that technical gobbledygook, all those scribe lines, it's going to be like a Gundam model, to be able to go in there and pop those panels out, make them look like a used Star Wars vehicle. Looking forward to that. Yeah, that's a good example too. That John D. A windowless package does give you space. So there's a pro and a con to all these decisions. I can't see the package inside. Hopefully no one scammed me. Hopefully the paint's good. Hopefully nothing's broken when I open it, because I can't see what's in it. But look at that package illustration. It's really attractive. It sits well on the shelf. If I take it out, I'm still interested in keeping that box around because it looks good, or cutting it out or something. So for every one reason to go one way, there's another reason to go the other way, and that's the tug of war, particularly Transformers lives in at times. Yeah, Coltron. If you got two items in the package, when I count things up, I count both the things. Everything the eye makes contact with that's unique and separate from another is an element. One way or another, to me, it's an element. It's not always a graphic element, but it's an element that your eye is meant to pick up on. So you got to count it. And sometimes you can go so crazy. Like, you could count the Hasbro, the 8 Plus, and maybe the chevrons behind it, because they're popping enough, that your eye makes a decision to see them as well. And then you're really not helping your consumer focus. I don't mean that. I'm not trying to take any kind of shots either at Hasbro packaging. They got multiple people telling them what they want and where they want it, and they all do their best to lay it out. But sometimes there's a lot to communicate, and it gets bound up if they make a structured decision. So I don't know all the variables that got them to that point to fully, know good or bad what they did internally. But I'll say it's a pretty odd soup they've created. Yeah. Yeah, the head popping thing is pretty wild. That's a new thing. Stealing stuff out of stores like that, it's just stupid. It's just stupid and unfortunate. As long as you can guarantee what is in the package, and it's going to come again as advertised, a closed box can be pretty attractive. I mean, all the bigger toys of our youth was closed box. Every G.I. Joe vehicle was closed box. So, He-Man had a mix. But, if you could trust what's inside, it's when people are swapping stuff out and playing games, and or the item is a little considerably smaller than you would hoped it had been in the box, that's when people are going to really not be happy, and those games get played, as we all know. Not necessarily at Hasbro, but they get played. Oh, David, you painted up some of those too? Cool. Yeah, fun little project, for sure. My painting tipped over. Woo. So I did a little house. I kind of rearranged some of the classic toys up there that probably just look like a mishmash to y'all. Definitely moved some stuff around here. The 70s Death Star compactor there. Still trying to perfect this thing here. Speaking of elements, it's interesting how much of the packaging downplays the difference in factions. Small symbols, no difference in packaging, color, or layout for good guys or bad guys. Yeah, they did the line look, and that wasn't a spec. And they're going to do that when it's a smaller segment line to keep that stripe of that segment, so this Velocitron thing, keep it separate and tight. So they wouldn't do it there. In a main line, sometimes you can do a little bit of purple-red separation, but with a line that small, you wouldn't want to bring more chaos visually to that little area with any too much separation of the color. You are correct in the right type of segment. That John D, at least how I would think of it. But in a small segment, they are going to want to keep it tight. Michael Coe with the super chat. Thank you, sir. When you are working on Transformers, were the discussions on developing cosplay toys like swords and other things like that? Yes. At different times, we were always encouraged to do role play. Role play is a big category. Role play in the toy world, at least at Hasbro, is anything you pick up or wear that lets you pretend to be the character from the entertainment. So lightsabers, talking Darth Vader helmets, any kind of Spider-Man with foam, web shooters, talking masks of all sorts. That is all considered role play. Some of the lines we did some foam swords and different things. We did a little bit of it here and there, obviously, for Armada and whatnot. But cosplay swords, I think they did a little bit in Nerf, but we really didn't look at it that way. We were really focused on things making that magic of transformation happen if possible. So we avoided a lot of what I would call more basic weaponry that just has logos or iconography on it. We were looking for more stuff that truly converted, transformed, made a change more often than not. And that's a little trickier when you're doing different stuff. We tried in Cybertron, we had a kind of a Nerf blaster and a bigger sword. But the nature of the battle, there's not singular sword fights between Optimus and Megatron to make something like that kind of item so important. So it got tricky. We were always encouraged to do it. We couldn't find too many ways to go about it. We did the converting movie items where you pull back and it becomes Optimus's hand with a gun on a truck. And I think we did a similar one with Starscream. So that you could see where we were always trying. I could see the Dorky Gobot ship in the back there too. Absolutely, the Dorky Gobot ship. You get the prize for the night. Eagle Eye. Yeah, I like a good goofy Gobot for sure. Yeah, the Star Saber. I got one of those around here too. The roleplay one. Yeah, the handle on that was not well thought out, unfortunately. Yeah. Um, so I'm gonna wind it down here. What else do we got? Any questions I missed? Yeah, that's true. Actually, I pulled that out. So funny you say that, Claudio. Um, yeah, the definite different package style. The American ones had that really um, kind of like classic illustration style, and not too slick. I agree with that. This doesn't have any of that. There's Megatron in all his glory from the animation. Pulled this out but didn't use it. The only issue with wind loss. Yeah, that's the issue. We really gotta. I mean, as long as Hasbro takes care to have their vendors package the stuff where we can guarantee everything is valid, that'd be great. But without that window, we just don't know. Just don't know. Speaking of GoBots, I know you had something to bring a few characters in. Was there ever any discussion to bring GoBots into a fuller force into Transformers? No. Anytime that we did GoBot stuff back in the day, it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek because I could get the legal name. We weren't, most of the time when I was on it, we weren't looking to bring focus away from Autobots versus Decepticons, other than to say Minicons and Omnibots and Terracons and so on and so forth. But the GoBots was kind of, if you think of it, even in the year 2000, when I started some of this, the attitude was GoBots and Transformers still had a lot of friction, right? GoBots got smashed by Transformers. So it was a funny inside joke to do that, but that was still a robust business in Japan somewhat with Machine Robo Rescue, and we weren't really trying to get involved with that in any way. And so even though we had the GoBots name in English, there was really no need to call out extra focus on another segment, especially one that has another giant toy company behind it. Like, we weren't trying to start anything that way, so it just didn't make sense from our focus to stay on Autobots and Decepticons to really do too much with the GoBots. And then that's why the GoBots got used as a name for the original kind of play school kind of Transformers, right? That was the original stuff, was GoBots, again, to keep it separate from Transformers, but it ultimately got wrapped up in Transformers anyway, right? So what happened to Ninjatron? Where you been, Ninja? Did we chase you out? Well, I appreciate everybody coming. We got nice to see some old faces. Alan G, how are you? Good to see you. Claudio, Evan, I'll see you in a few shorter weeks every week, right? I was surprised. I looked up. This is like the 21st live. I know I missed a few, but they're piling up. We're gaining a pretty decent, consistent audience every week that shows up live, and then we get a similar number of people that follow up throughout the week. So we're building up our audience. So I appreciate you all for being here. Ninja just hiding in the shadows. uh, waiting to destroy. Um, so that is what I have. So again, archermonster.com. I sell artwork and my sketchbook and other publishing things. Again, I have some. I'll have some stuff up from my library up there with art. Maybe some toys that I'll up there with art. I also have a whole stack of Armada instruction sheets, which I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with, whether or not that would be a Patreon thing that I'm going to draw on them or something I put up on my own website. I haven't decided yet, but if anybody has any interest in something crazy like that, let me know. Good discussion on the packaging yet again. We've been doing a lot of packaging discussion. It's nice to bring that focus into our discussions because it's not all about the plastic thing. It's about what we check out with our eyes, and the package is a big part of that. So thanks again. I will see you all hopefully next week. Horned Owl, Michael Coe, thanks again for the super chats. Appreciate you, Coltron. So I will see you